Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
Hey, it's our life unit. We're going to talk about some airline safety hacks. Hacks here just means tips, tricks, clever solutions for something that every traveler should know. You know, I don't know about you, Mike, but I've been noticing lately in the news, we've had lots of little, not big airplane disasters, but some smaller ones. And it's made some people a little jumpy, a little afraid to travel.
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine was going to go to Las Vegas just for fun. And instead of flying, and it's really easy to fly to Vegas in America because there are lots of flights.
Sure, lots of tourists go there.
He just decided to get into his car and drive 8 hours instead.
And it was because of a nervousness, a fear, a worry
just
about
too many
air travel?
airline stories. Yeah.
Interesting. You're right. There was the one in Korea, and then they had the American one where the plane flew into a helicopter. And then there was the one in Toronto where the plane flipped over. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And that was all within, you're right, like 2 or 3 weeks there,
yeah,
wasn't
it's a little weird. So we're going to talk about some things that will make you feel a little bit more prepared in case something happens. But yeah, we both fly a lot. Mike, you're going to go on a trip pretty soon. Are you going to be taking some of these hacks with you?
I'm reading through the article. I was familiar with most of them, but I mean, with a lot of things that are involving with safety and things you don't do all the time, it's always good to be reminded by some of these things, right? A lot of them we know, we've heard, we've seen, we've been told. But unless you fly constantly, or maybe you work in an airline or work on an airplane, it's not the kind of thing we think about all the time. And often when we get on the plane, we're so busy finding our seat, putting our bags away, getting our entertainment options ready, preparing for the long flight, that we often don't pay attention to this stuff. And that's great until it's actual, emergency time.
Until
and suddenly you go, wait, what am I supposed to do? Your mind goes blank, all the training and all the advice you forget instantly, so it's always good to kind of listen to this stuff when we're a bit calmer and when we're able to process and remember and think about things. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how traveling by airplane can be made safer by remembering these things. We should also remember and point out that air travel, I think, still is by far the safest way to travel, right? Fewer people die in airplanes than die on car trips or taxis or buses or probably even trains around the world too. So
nowadays,
we don't want to make people too nervous, but, when things get a little scary, it's always good to know exactly what you should do to stay as safe as possible. So let's find out. In 2024, multiple airplane accidents caused severe casualties, including a Jeju air disaster at the year's end. However, not all incidents ended in tragedy. Early in the year, a Japan Airlines flight caught fire after landing in Tokyo, but all 379 passengers and crew members escaped within 90 seconds. This event highlights the golden 90 seconds that experts emphasize. Most survivors evacuate the plane within this critical window. Proper preparation ensures you can act quickly and decisively during these crucial moments when every second counts. Your survival strategy begins before takeoff. Wear long pants, a comfortable top, and sturdy shoes. Running in flip-flops or high heels during an emergency is dangerous, as these increase the risk of falling or delaying evacuation. Additionally, choose seats near emergency exits or within 5 rows of one for quicker access. If those seats aren't available, opt for an aisle seat instead. When boarding, count the rows between your seat and the nearest exit. In case of smoke or darkness, this will help you find your way out quickly. Read the safety card and pay attention to the flight attendant's instructions. Experts also stress the +3 -8 rule. Nearly 80% of crashes occur in the first 3 minutes after takeoff and the last 8 before landing. During these periods, stay alert with your seatbelt fastened. Avoid sleeping or distractions like headphones, and keep your shoes secured. If an emergency landing occurs, adopt the brace position. Place your feet flat on the floor, lean forward, tuck your chin to your chest, and press your head firmly against the seat in front of you. Shield your head with your hands to minimize injury. Once the aircraft stops, don't waste time grabbing luggage. Move quickly to the nearest exit. At the evacuation slide, remove high heels or sharp objects to prevent damaging the slide. Upon reaching the ground, immediately run to a safe distance. Never return to the aircraft, no matter what. Surviving a plane crash isn't just about luck. It's about knowledge and quick action. By staying prepared and following safety procedures, you can significantly increase your chances of survival. All right, so let's get into our article. We start off by, remembering some of the scary headlines and incidents that have happened recently that kind of bring this topic to our minds. It says in 2024, so just last year, multiple airplane accidents caused severe casualties, including a Jeju air disaster at the year's end. So there were several that you might remember from the headlines, from the news. They all seem to happen at the end of last year, and I think even into the beginning of this year. So that's why we say multiple airplane accidents. Multiple just means more than one. A single accident would be one. Multiple is more than one. How many more than one? We don't know. It doesn't really matter. It just means more than one, okay? So this is a way you could sort of point out that something is not just a very rare thing, you know? I was only late that last time when I, forgot to meet you at the movie. And you say, no, you were made multiple times. There were 2 times last year and 3 times the year before. You can start to count them if it's important, but multiple is really used just to sort of show a clear difference between just one time and more than one time. So multiple airplane accidents, which of course will get a lot more attention than a single or just one airplane accident. But these accidents, they were not minor. They caused severe casualties. So that's, of course, bad news, and also why we might remember them a bit more, because casualties are injuries. That could also mean people killed or people hurt in an accident or in a war or in something like that. So a casualty is someone whose life or health is put in danger or even ended by being killed in some kind of terrible thing. And if it's severe, that means sort of at the bad end of a scale, all right? If we're talking about a severe storm, it's going to be very powerful and possibly very deadly. If it's a mild storm or something like this, then it's not so bad. So severe is usually at the very far end of something, and generally in a bad kind of way. So it wasn't just a plane crash where 1 or 2 people were hurt or killed. No, hundreds of people were killed in several of them. So, of course, this is definitely something that we would see in the news. And it includes here, probably one of the more well-known ones, a Jeju air disaster at the year's end. This, of course, happened in Korea, I believe. Well, Jeju Air is a Korean airline.
Yeah.
The crash was in Korea, in southern Korea there. And it's a disaster. A disaster is a terrible calamity, a terrible thing that happens, generally an accident in some kind of way. It could be something from nature, like an earthquake or a typhoon or something like that. It could also be human-caused, a plane crash, a train crash, something like that. A building falls down. Who knows what it is? But the general idea would also be that many people were hurt or killed in something like that. And it was, of course, a terrible, shocking, and awful incident.
Yeah, it really was. There were plane problems all around the world, actually.
Wow.
So pick a place. They probably had some sort of plane issue. Perhaps nobody was injured. Hopefully that was the case. But yeah, it's really sad if you have a big airliner go down and everyone on board is killed. That's tough. Well, not all incidents. Incidents is an event that happens. Usually it's something that's bad. Not all incidents ended in tragedy. Tragedy is when an event causes a lot of suffering, a lot of distress, maybe a lot of destruction. We have a lot of natural disasters here in Taiwan. So we've seen our share of tragedies take place, but it's really tough when you see the big airliners go down and hundreds of people lose their lives. I always think of the families, It's one guy, but it's a family that's affected.
Sure.
So it's a tough thing to see airline disasters, especially when you lose everybody on board. Now, early in the year, we just talked about Jeju, which was at the end of the year of 2024. But early in the year, a Japan Airlines flight caught fire after landing in Tokyo. But this was a really, I thought, wow, they were so blessed. All 379 passengers and crew members escaped in a really short amount of time, 90 seconds. And I thought, wow, I don't usually pay that much attention. They must have had really good flight attendants too, who knew exactly what to do, and they didn't freak out. They were very calm. Not everybody responds to danger in the same way. You want to have someone who's really, really calm in a disaster like that. But they were able to get everyone out of that plane in 90 seconds, which is amazing because, there are some of these passengers. I've been on a plane that looked like it was going down, and people are screaming, and everyone's going crazy. And I just thought, wow, that's not helping.
No, that doesn't help.
But go ahead.
Definitely well-trained flight attendants and also passengers who pay attention and listen to instructions and aren't busy trying to, get their favorite iPod or whatever out of their bag and, just let me go and run to the bathroom real quick or something. People just have to pay attention and do what they're told.
Or climbing over somebody else in an effort to get out
pushing
first.
Pushing people out of the way, all that kind of stuff. But that 90 seconds is an important amount of time. Of course, that's a minute and a half. Not very long, but I'm sure a really long time when you're in a burning airplane.
Yes.
But still not long. But it says this event, this incident, the one in Japan where it was a good outcome, a happy ending to it. This event highlights the golden 90 seconds that experts emphasize. So people who study plane crashes, they put a lot of importance on 90 seconds being a really important amount of time. It says most survivors evacuate the plane within this critical window. So the people who have lived through plane crashes have usually gotten out of the plane within 90 seconds. I guess the idea being that after about 90 seconds, a minute and a half, the fire is so large, powerful, hot, and dangerous that anyone still in the airplane will probably not leave that airplane. The smoke, the heat, the flames might overcome those people, and they will be, unfortunately, among the killed. So that's why the 90 seconds is a critical window, something very, very important. If something is critical, it's kind of like saying it's necessary or it's really, really important in some kind of way. I know that with soldiers wounded on the battlefield, there's the golden hour.
Yes.
If you can get a soldier wounded, shot, blown up, whatever, if you can get them to a medical facility, like even a simple hospital out there in the field, within about an hour, you can hopefully save their life from blood loss and shock and things like that. So in a similar way, 90 seconds is sort of the magic time. If you can get everyone out of the plane within 90 seconds, you have a good chance of having few or, like this situation, absolutely zero critical injuries or killed or anything like that. So how do you do it? Well, preparation.
Yeah, I wanted to mention if you're on a flight and it's mostly English speaking, you'll hear that word evacuate. Evacuate. Evacuate means to get out of a place of danger to a safer place very quickly. If you're in school, they have those evacuation drills that they make the kids and the teachers practice so that they know what to do if a disaster strikes. I was at 101 one time teaching, and we had an evacuation bell, I guess, or that siren that goes off, telling us to get out of the building. I didn't know what was going on, but you don't question, you just do what you're supposed to. So if you have an evacuation drill, it means you're practicing for a real disaster. But yeah, this is really important to know what you need to do during those critical 90 seconds, those golden 90 seconds. As Mike mentioned, proper preparation is really important. That can help you act quickly and decisively during these crucial moments. Crucial, critical, vital, essential, those are all synonyms. Very important moments when every second counts. Now, if you act decisively, it means you know exactly what you're going to do. You can make a decision. You don't keep flip-flopping over, well, maybe I should go that way or maybe I should go this way. You know exactly what to do and you act quickly and swiftly.
Now, how can you do this? Well, there are actually a number of logical and smart things to do before you even get on the plane. Before you even leave your home, in fact, it says your survival strategy begins before takeoff. That's right. Don't wait until the disaster happens to prepare for the disaster because it's too late. This is logical, but a lot of people don't take the steps early enough. So what can you do before you take off or even before you leave home? Wear long pants. Okay, that's a good idea. Long pants might protect you from flames. If you're wearing shorts or things like that, your legs could be exposed and you could suffer burns. A comfortable top. So make sure your shirt, your top, your sweater, whatever you're wearing on the top part of your body is comfortable. There's a lot of different words for this, right? We can talk about t-shirts, shirts, blouses, whatever. So saying the word top is a nice group sort of thing to anything you wear on your shirt, or sorry, on the upper part of your body. I guess also maybe if you're a business person, take your tie off. It might get caught on things, stuff like that. So that's sensible. And sturdy shoes, right? So shoes that you can walk a distances, shoes that are tough and strong and protect your feet. It gives an example here. Running in flip-flops or high heels during an emergency is dangerous, as these increase the risk of falling or delaying evacuation. So flip-flops, sandals, Crocs, those types of things that can flap off your feet if you're running. And also high heel shoes, unless you're a very, very accomplished businesswoman. Running in high heels is never easy. It's very, very difficult to do. So basically anything that you couldn't run down the street in for 50 meters comfortably, don't wear those same types of shoes on airplanes because they could fall off or they could delay evacuation. If you trip and fall, the people behind you could trip and fall as well. Flip-flops are the shoes that you kind of slip your foot into. Usually there's a little piece of the shoe called the thong that goes between your big toe and your first toe next to it. And as you walk along, they go flip-flop as they kind of slap against your feet. Similar to sandals, but sandals will often have a strap around your ankle, whereas flip-flops are only held on between your toes. So clearly not good for running, and high heels as well. And evacuation is escaping from somewhere because there's a danger or because you can't stay there any longer. If there's an earthquake, if there's a fire, something like that, if there's a crime, a dangerous crime happening in the building, like a bank robbery, they might call for an evacuation. Everybody out, go to a safe place, and things like that. I've actually heard with the shoes also, if you can, leather shoes, leather-soled shoes are better. The rubber of running shoes, it could melt on the hot wings of the airplane. If the plane is on fire, the rubber of your running shoes could melt, so they say actually to be super safe, wear leather shoes, which won't burn. So there's another thing you can think about.
Well, that kind of eliminates those Crocs.
Definitely eliminates Crocs.
Which are plastic.
You shouldn't wear Crocs anywhere, really. I mean, either it's a fashion crime or it's dangerous
It's
to your health.
definitely a fashion crime. I'm with you. I wanted to mention, I know all of you guys, you love your toxies in Taiwan, and those are just flip-flops to us.
Yeah.
The other problem with flip-flops, Mike, is I'll even be in the airport trying to go quickly, and someone will step on the back of my flip-flop.
But you shouldn't be wearing flip-flops.
And then it can break your shoe.
That's true, it can.
So be careful not to step on other people's feet.
I would say keep the flip-flops to the beach, the pool, walking around your house.
Not in an airport.
Not in an airport.
But it's hard when it gets really hot outside. People always think
you have a bag with you. Flip-flops are small. Just stick them in your bag or buy them at your destination.
Yeah, so that's the advice on shoes, okay? So additionally, here are some other things you should do. Choose seats near emergency exits or within 5 rows of one for quicker access. I think sitting in an emergency exit row is nice just because you get to just stretch your legs out. I don't like the fact that sometimes you don't have storage area.
That's true. You don't have a pocket in front of you or something.
Or no pocket in front of you. Yeah. So there are disadvantages to sitting in exit rows. But man, if there's a long flight, like 11, 12 hours, I try to get into one of those exit rows so I can, and I'm not even that tall, so I can stretch my legs out because it gets tiring after a while. Or maybe if you can't get in one of those, you can get within 5 rows of one of the exit rows, and that will give you quicker access to leaving the plane. When you talk about access to something, it just means your way of using something or approaching something, getting access to something, getting into a place. We often use access to talk about internet access. Oh, I got to get online. Do you have any Wi-Fi? I don't have any access. Does that store have internet access? We'll talk about that all the time. But you want to have an ability to get to a place, and that would be a good piece of advice if you want to get off the plane earlier rather than later.
There you go. And it says if those seats aren't available, if you can't sit in the emergency row or nearby it, opt or choose, opt for or choose an aisle seat instead. The aisle is the inside middle part of the airplane where the flight attendants will walk up and down and passengers will walk up and down. That's where they push the food cart and the drink cart. That's the aisle seat. Then there's often a middle seat, right, where you have seats on either side. And then the window seat, which a lot of people like because they can look out the window. But of course, the window seat is furthest from the aisle, and the aisle will get you to the emergency exit. So if you're nervous about things and you want to be super safe, aisle seats are better than window seats. Let's take a quick break there, and then we're going to come back with the rest of the article.
听众朋友大家好，我是 Anna。我们今天要来带大家看这个文章，真的还蛮重要的，因为跟大家的安全有关，这是生死一瞬之间呢，我们一定要知道一些飞行安全知识。我们赶快来看一下，为什么会特别做这个文章？因为其实在去年，就是2024年的时候啊，有很多起的飞机事故造成很严重的伤亡。那我们在第一段第一句看到一个形容词叫做 multiple。multiple， 如果你去查，它会说什么多重的。其实多重的除了多之外，还有重那个意思，也就是多种的意思，各式各样不同的。那当然每次不管是飞安意外啊，还是什么公路啊，还是任何的天灾意外，都会有一些死伤人数嘛。在英文当中会用 casualty 这个字， casualty 通常都会用复数啦，我们通常都会说 the number of casualties， 死伤人数大概有多少，同样也出现在第一段第一句的这个地方，不管是车祸、战争啊，死伤人数。那么重点就是说如果说我们可以有飞行安全知识的话，不一定真的会造成悲剧哦。所以就像是年初的时候啊，有一家日本的航空公司，它在东京因为降落之后就起火，可是因为大部分的人呢都知道有这样的知识，而且他们都在黄金90秒内就已经逃生了。所以重点是其实这个黄金90秒真的很重要。我们来看一下第一段第4句的地方，这边有一个限定用法的关系子句，就是我们刚刚说的先行词 the golden 90 seconds， 黄金90秒。这个黄金90秒的先行词后面 that 一直到句尾的地方，我们可以把它左右括号起来。那这个90秒是怎样的90秒呢？ That experts emphasize， 专家他有这么样的强调的，因为关系子句当中的动词 evacuate 特别把它抓出来，大部分的生还者其实都可以逃生，从这个关键的90秒当中。可是你说后面啊，老师我们不是在说时间吗？怎么又出现窗户啊？原来最后面的所谓的 critical window 它是一个特殊的用法，因为其实它特别比较常指的是我们头脑在发展当中啊，尤其是小孩子0到6岁的时候，有时候有一些潜能啊，就在那个时候必须被刺激激发出来。那么在这个专家的口中呢，他们会用 critical window， 因为过了这个关键年纪之后啊，就再也学不来了，没有办法再开启了。所以在这句话当中的 critical window 特别指的就是这个黄金90秒。好，那我们接着还要看一下第5句哦，同样第一段第5句的地方也是限定用法的关系子句，在最后面的 when 一直到句尾左右括号。那 when 这边我们要特别注意一下，先行词是 these moments， 就是这关键的这些时刻，而后面的 when 是一个副词的概念，它指的是 during these moments， 而在这些时刻当中 every second counts。 最后一个字的 count 不是数哦，而是很重要，就算数的意思，每一秒都很算数，每一秒都很重要，分秒必争。所以第2段就来到重点咯，开始咯。其实你的生存策略啊，从飞机起飞之前就开始。怎么说？第2句告诉我们，一定要穿长裤、舒适上衣，还有牢固的鞋子 sturdy shoes。 为什么？因为如果你穿人字拖啊、高跟鞋啊，这是很危险，可能会跌倒或者是拖慢撤离的风险。在第2段的第3句，我们逗点后面看到一个 as， 在英文当中 as 如果当连接词，要不就 when、because， 如同好像3择1，而在这里是一个逻辑说明原因 because 的一个 as。 接下来的第4句我们说，如果我们要坐的时候要选择靠近紧急出口或者是5排之内的座位，要更接近出口。我们接下来看第4句这边呢，第4句当然紧急出口叫做 emergency exits， 接着后面的 within 5 rows of one， 这里的 one 指的是前面 emergency exit， 就是紧急出口，任何一个，因为不只是一个嘛，任何一个紧急出口的5排之内 within 5 rows of one。 为什么呢？ For quicker access， 为了呢可以更快的逃离。那如果这些位置你已经选不到了 not available 的话呢，你就选择一个 aisle seat， 走道的座位。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, let's get going on the next paragraph. It says, when boarding the plane, you need to count the rows between your seat and the nearest exit. That'll let you know how far you have to go to get out of the plane if needed. In case of smoke or darkness, sometimes you'll lose all of the lights inside the plane. So that's a problem. This will help you find your way out quickly by having counted the rows yourself when you could see what was going on. Now, here's one of the things that all of us have kind of gone, oh, I've read the safety card.
Really?
How many times do I have to read it again?
I read it every time.
Oh, good for you. So read the safety card. Pay attention to the flight attendant's instructions. I look at them because I think it's rude not to.
That's true.
And so I do it for that reason alone. I don't do it because I'm reviewing the safety tips. But it is really good if you just watch those flight attendants. Hopefully you have somebody who's fun or kind of cute. That always makes it more interesting.
That's right.
But those are good instructions.
Definitely. And often they're shown as a short film now that you can watch.
Sure.
And yeah, a lot of people at this time are like trying to figure out what food to eat or what movies to watch or whatever. Do pay attention to those safety instructions from the flight attendants, the people who work inside the airplane, helping the passengers and, getting us food and drinks. Listen to them. Experts also stress the +3 - 8 rule. +3 - 8. Now, what's all that about? That's kind of expressed in an easy way to remember, +3 - 8, but what does it mean? Nearly 80% of crashes occur or happen in the first 3 minutes after takeoff and the last 8 before landing. So this is sort of the critical danger time, according to the statistics and, studying plane crashes. Most of the time something happens to a plane, it'll be 3 minutes after takeoff. The engines suddenly fail. The plane suddenly drops. It runs into a bunch of birds or something like that are near the airport.
It could.
The first 3 minutes of the takeoff.
Or drones.
By that, after 3 minutes, it'll be high enough that most, dangers near the ground are long gone. And the last 8 before landing, because, as you're landing, the plane is, again, coming down. It can run into things. Problems can happen. Might have problems with the wheels coming down in the plane. Who knows? But basically, if you're in the middle of the flight flying really, really high and really, really fast, there's very little that can go wrong with the plane at that point. So it's the beginning and the end of the journey. That's the time you should pay most attention. During those periods, it says, the +3 and the -8, stay alert with your seatbelt fastened. Pay attention to what's going on. Make sure you're aware of the plane, all that kind of stuff. And make sure your seatbelt is done up. Your seatbelt is fastened. It is clicked. It is locked. It is nice and tight around your hips. Because if things start suddenly bouncing around in the plane, it'll be difficult to get that seatbelt on.
Now, during these first 3 minutes and last 8 minutes, try to avoid things like sleeping, wake yourself up, avoid distractions like headphones.
They tell you to take those off usually.
They do.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, though.
Oh,
I was
people
just on a
slip them
flight.
back in,
They don't care
too.
anymore. And keep your shoes on. Make sure your shoes are on during these times.
A lot of people take their shoes off during the plane, right?
I do, yeah.
During the plane ride. So make sure your shoes are back on and tied up. Or tied on, yeah.
If an emergency landing occurs, this is towards the end of the flight, adopt the brace position. Or it could be in the middle of the flight and you have to land quickly. They talk about the brace position in some of these videos that they play for you on safety. You put your feet on the floor and you bend your body over and then you put your hands over your heads to try to protect it. It says here, lean forward, tuck your chin to your chest. If you tuck something, you just push it in, fold it, or turn it. We tuck our shirts into our trousers, our pants, guys. That's how we use that verb tuck. And then press your head firmly against the seat in front of you. Shield your head. Protect your head with your hands to minimize injury should you have a rough landing. Hopefully you don't. And once that plane stops, don't waste time grabbing your precious luggage, as Mike said, your favorite iPod or your tablet computer. Just move quickly to the nearest exit. That's what they'll say. Leave your belongings behind. Move to the exit as fast as possible.
Definitely. If you have time, when you know something's going wrong, it might be a good idea to put your passport in your pocket just in case they have to figure out who you are if you're injured or knocked out or something. But don't take your bags. Don't take your stuff. Forget all that duty-free perfume you just bought. Leave it behind. It's not as important as your life is. At the evacuation slide, so these are those slides that open on the doors on the side of the plane, the ones by the exit, those emergency exits you're supposed to be remembering. These slides will sort of inflate like a big balloon and allow people to slide down from the airplane down to the ground. So once you reach there, remove high heels. Don't wear high heels on one of these slides. It's mentioned in the safety guides in the airplane, so take those off. Or any sharp objects. So if you have keys on your belt or something like that, take those off your belt. Don't want anything sharp because this is, remember, kind of an inflated balloon. You don't want to damage the slide so that the other people behind you are stuck in the plane with the slide that is now no longer working. Upon reaching the ground, once you reach once you get down to the bottom of the slide, don't stop, don't turn around, don't wait for your best friend. Run to a safe distance. So run at least 100 meters from the plane in case there's an explosion or the fire gets really bad. Never return to the aircraft no matter what. You can't go, oh no, I forgot my AirPods in my pocket. I got to go back and get them or something. No, too late. Leave it out there. Hopefully it will be okay. But again, it's not as important as your life and your health and your safety.
So surviving a plane crash isn't just about luck. It's about knowledge and quick action. Review the safety procedures. Procedures are an established way of doing something. It's a series of actions that you perform in a certain order. You want to make sure you do a quick review. Be a good doobie like Mike and read the safety card. Follow what the flight attendants tell you, and you have a better chance of survival. Right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
接着登机之后呢，要数一数你在座位跟出口之间到底有几排哦。第三段的第一句是一个连接词 when 保留的分词构句，这个分词是现在分词的 boarding， 就是所谓的登机。主词是逗点之后的 you， 可是你没有看到 you 的原因是因为 you 省略。这个 count 是一个祈使句，你登机之后，你要数一数到底你的座位跟出口之间是有几排呢？为什么？第二句直接告诉我们，因为如果发生浓烟或全黑的状况的时候，你至少可以数一数，就可以迅速的找到出口。然后注意啦，像是阅读安全须知啊，注意空服员人员的这些安全示范啦、指示啊，这个都很重要。第三段第三句最后一个字的 instructions， 这个 flight attendants 的 instructions 安全示范啦的指示啊，不只是这个飞行人员，有时候我们在药品上啦，所有的物品上都会有一些 instructions。好，接下来第三段的第四句我们特别注意一下 +3 -8 rule， 这叫做加3减8的法则。什么意思？因为将近 80% 的空难发生在飞机起后的前3分钟，还有落地之前的最后8分钟，在这段期间之内一定要保持警觉啊。所以在第三段我们来到了第5句，第5句特别注意一下动词的 stay alert， 要保持警觉哦。后面的 with 是一个保持附带状况，这个附带状况是什么呢？ with 加受词 your seat belt 加上受词补语 fastened， 你的安全带要系紧哦。然后呢，你的鞋子要穿好哦。后面的第6句最后面 keep your shoes secured， 要保持你的鞋子是一个穿好穿紧的状况。那如果真的发生紧急迫降的话，就是要用防撞姿势。这个防撞姿势出现在第4段第1句最后面 the brace position。接着第2句就告诉我们要怎么样做一个防撞姿势哦。而且第4句最重要了，这里的 once 先把它圈起来，不是一次哦，而是一旦当，它是 when 的意思。当飞机一停的时候呢，要赶快逃走，不要拿行李了。接着我们看第6句前面的 upon reaching， 也是强调一怎么的时候，一到了地面，当我们从逃生滑梯滑下来，一到地面的时候，赶快跑，先跑到安全距离。所以其实这都不只是靠运气啊，我们需要 knowledge。来到第5段， 我们也需要 quick action， 要非常快速的这个行动。所以希望大家都能够熟记今天的黄金90秒的原则，希望大家都很安全哦。我是 Anna， 我们下次见。
That's all the time we have, guys. We hope on your next flight it will be smooth and you won't have any problems at all. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Mike.
Bye-bye.
Take care.